الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. إن شاء الله تعالى we'll continue with the book of Akhsar Al-Mokhtasarat. And we stopped at, he says, فصل وتثبت الشفعة. We'll talk about Ash-Shufaa. And we need to make sure that we read it right, inshallah. And this is part of the rules of some of the transactions. And Ash-Shufaa comes from Shafa. When something is even, that means you have one added to him, someone else, and the Shafa'a, the intercession. And Ash-Shufaa religiously is basically intiza', which is where they call it pre-emption, I guess, to take something from someone for the right of the sharik or the partner. But first, Ash-Shufaa is when two or more individuals, they own a piece of land mainly, but for the most of the rulings are upon lands. So if they own a piece of land, more than two or more, على المشاع, that means without specifically known what each person has as far as the place wise. But they have a percentage, but it's al masha', that means it's in general throughout the land. So for example, if 4 people, they all purchased a land, 10 acres of land. 4 people purchased 10 acres of land. And they divided it among themselves without drawing any lines or hudud or limits or anything like this. Just the 10 acres will be for the 4 of them. One will have 10%, one will have 30%, one will have 40%, one will have 40%, like this. Which 40%? North, south, east, west? No. They're all owners of the whole thing. Right? على المشاع, that means without specifying a place or the other. So if one wants to sell his portion, right? If this is where the shuf'a comes in place. If someone wants to sell his portion, so say for example, he finds a buyer, so he makes a deal with the buyer, and he sells the land to him. He sends not the entire land, just the portion that he owns. He sells his 10% to a stranger, and he made the contract, and it's final. Give him the money, didn't give the money, it doesn't matter. And he sold that 10% for, say for example, $1,000. Now the shuf'a comes in place. If one or more of the owners, the other partners, they have the right to break this contract, this new contract with the other person, the one that is coming and purchasing. They have the right to break that contract for either all of them or one of them, and he would pay the same price because they deserve for that piece of land to be given to them rather than a stranger. Because this might harm them. They don't want to have a partner that they don't want to be sharing the land with them, especially if there's nothing has been drawn or anything like this. So this is a very specific hukm, a specific case that, as ulama, they say it's unique in the Sharia. Right? This is not unless in other parts or people might implement this rule. And therefore, if there is hudud and the limits and the land has been divided, then there's no shuf'a. So if people, again, the same 4, they purchased 10 acres of land, but they divided it clearly. They made, drawings in it, and this part is yours, this part is yours, like this, right? And one of them wants to sell it to a stranger, and he sells it to a stranger, he has the right. Nobody can oppose him. And of course, the first case of a shuf'a, no one is opposing him. But this is where the milkiyya or the ownership will be taken from the new purchaser, and his money will be given in full, but in case of one of the partners wants to have it. But if it's drawn and things like this, then it's not permissible because it does not apply the shuf'a here with the conditions that it will come, inshallah ta'ala. And we'll see, inshallah ta'ala, with the rulings, and that's why if there's any questions that can be in the end, inshallah. Let me see here. So he says here, وَتَثْبُتُ الشُّفْعَةُ. That means the shuf'a is established. So what now is being established? Not that he has the right and that's it. No, you're having here, since we're talking about financial responsibilities and liabilities, is that it's already the contract is done. If a person is negotiating and then his partner will say, I have more rights to it, sure, no problem. We're not talking about shuf'a yet. This, when it happens, if there's, as if there's some form of a dispute. So already the portion has been sold. Then it has to be taken away. He has the right. It doesn't have to be taken away automatically. The one of the partners, he has the right to break this new contract, and he would purchase it with the same price, not less and not more, just with the same price that it was sold to someone else. So he says, وَتَثْبُتُ الشُّفْعَةُ. It becomes established. فَوْرًا. So this is the first condition. فَوْرًا means what? Immediately. What does that mean? So the first condition has to be فَوْرًا. Al-fawr, that means right there, right immediately. So going back again, let's take it just two people instead of four. So if two people own the piece of land, one of them sold it to a stranger, and the contract is done and everything is done. The partner, now he get to know about it. If he does not act immediately, then it's going to be too late for him. So the shuf'a, it is the right of the partner if it's done immediately. So his partner, let's say A and B, or Zaid and Amr, which one is better? Zaid and Amr or A and B? Zaid and Amr. So Zaid and Amr are partners in a land. Zaid sold the land to Ahmed, right? And he made the contract and the deal is over. Amr, the partner of Zaid, he got the news that Zaid sold the land. He has to act immediately. He has to say, I want this land for myself. The portion that we're both partners in the land, and we don't know which part is for who. It's owned al masha, right? So it's not known where the part of Zaid versus Amr. So Amr would say, I want this for myself. I don't want a partner in it. So if he does not act immediately, he gets to know the news, and he says, we'll see, think about it. And then after a few weeks, after a few days, he says, no, I want the land for myself. It's too late if he does not act upon it immediately. So this is haqq for him. This is a right for him, but it has to be acted upon immediately. Or if he says, it's okay, I don't have means now, later maybe. And then after he decided this, things happen, can he change his mind? No, it has to be fawran, has to be immediately. So this is the first condition, limuslimin. The second one is to a Muslim, because this is a unique thing for people among the deen of Islam. So it has to be a Muslim. Other than a Muslim, no, he does not have that right. This is something between the Muslimin. Tam al-milk. Tam al-milk, that means he is having full ownership over the land. So who's the one that is going to receive the right? Is the partner. So we have Zayd and Amr. So we're talking about Amr has the right of the shuf'a, right? Because Zayd already sold his portion. So we're talking about the right of Amr here, the partner. So he has to have a full ownership over whatever percentage of the land that they purchased together. And the full ownership means it's not, for example, in a transition state. He not one, for example, if someone purchased a portion of the land, but he has in khiyar al-shart, he has a condition to go back on the sale within a week. So he purchased it. So Amr purchased the portion of the land from Zayd a week ago, and he was given a month to break the contract if he wants. So someone else comes and he wants to purchase the portion of Zayd before the month, then we say Amr does not have a full ownership. So there's no shuf'a for him because he can break the contract anytime. So, and there's other forms of when the mulk is, or the milk is not full. Like for example, if his portion comes as a result of mudaraba, as a deals of mudaraba that he's investing and this is what he gets as his profit, for example, or He's an owner of a, he's a guardian over that portion as a result of waqf, right? So that means he's not an owner. So it has to be full ownership. Has to be full ownership. تام الملك. Because now you're taking the portion of the land from someone to give it to someone else. So this is not something to be taken lightly. So the sharik, he has the right with these conditions. So still, so فورا and لمسلم for Muslim تام الملك and في حصة شريكه المنتقلة لغيره بعوض مالي. This is the fourth one. في حصة شريكه. حصة is portion. In the portion of his partner. شريك. And you see the hat here. شريكه. What's شريكه? His partner. Right? So in the حصة, in the portion of his sharik, المنتقلة, this portion that is going to be transformed, لغيره. الانتقال is when you move from one place to the other, when things are changed. So the hissa of his sharik, the portion of his partner that get to be moved, لغيره, get to be sold to other than him, to someone else, بعوض مالي, with money, what's عوض? Compensation. That means it's been sold with money. So this is a very specific and clear condition. And all has a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. So that means if in the case of Zayd and Amr, Zayd sold his portion, then Amr has the right to take it, to break that contract, and to pay the same price. Clear? But if Zayd gave it as a gift to his cousin, then Amr has no right whatsoever for a shufaa. Because it's not been sold. It's been given as a gift. Or it's been given as waqf. Or it's been given whatever. So it's only if it's been sold with money. Then Amr has the right. If he wants to take it. If he wants to purchase it. Right? It's not our kids, is it? Is there kind of making noise outside? So you understand that sentence? في حصة شريكه. حصة is the portion of his sharik, if his partner, المنتقلة, the one that is going to be moved, لغيره, to someone else other than him, بعوض مالي, with money compensation. That means it has to be with being sold to someone else. Right? بما استقر عليه العقد. العوض المالي, العوض is the compensation, something in return. And مالي, mal is money. What money? بما استقر عليه العقد, with what العقد, or the contract, which is that is new done with the strangers, with غيره. استقر means well established. الاستقرار is when something is constant, is established, is steady. So what that means is with what the end result of the contract is been given as a portion of the money. For example, if they say, for example, Zayd was selling the land to Ahmed, and they were negotiating the price. At first he said, how about 1,000? And then they're still talking about it. So what is the final result that they agreed and he sold the land with? This is what Amr has the right to purchase it with that price. بما استقر عليه العقد. What the aqd is then established and been upon a specific price, then this is because sometimes the aqd can be with payments. And this I think will come. So another case. And these masail, يعني, it's important to kind of picture it. We have Zayd and Amr, they share a piece of land. So Zayd sold his portion, that is mashā', that is not known what exactly he has of the land, to Ahmed, but with payments over 5 years. $1,000 over 5 years. And this is what has been established. Then Amr has the right, with the previous conditions, to take that contract and to take the same thing with the same type of a deal. So we don't, Zayd in this case, he would not say to Amr, well, if you want it, but I want, you have to pay me cash. No, you already established the new contract with payments over 5 years. So Amr has the right to take it with 5 years payments exactly the same. You just get the aqd, the other one, get it and copy it and just sign it with Amr name instead of Ahmed. Right? So whatever whatever the aqd is well established and the end result of the aqd. Clear? So these are all conditions. So فورا, immediately, لمسلم, has to be to a Muslim, تام الملك, he has full ownership in the portion of his sharik, his partner, that it sold, has to be sold, nothing else. بما استقر عليه العقد, with what the aqd is established upon. Right, it has to be the agreement. Both they have full ownership, or of course they had to have purchased it with full ownership. And the one that is, we were talking about the shuf'a itself, the one that we will give him the land after it's been sold, or the portion of the land after it's been sold, that person has to have full ownership. Is about that person that is we're going to give the shuf'a for him. The one that owns the right of the shuf'a, he has to have full ownership. No. Then he says وشرط تقدم ملك شفيع. وشرط تقدم ملك شفيع. وشرط, that means it's been a condition also. تقدم, that means preceding, something comes before. ملك شفيع. Milk is ownership of شفيع, which is the partner or the one that has ownership with the land, for example. تقدم وشرط تقدم ملك شفيع. What that means is that he has to have ownership from before the other partner. So in the case again, Zayd and Amr. So Zayd sold his, or he purchased, Zayd and Amr. Zayd had the land, say, but it has to be more than one person. So say that, for example, 4 people, they own the land. So Zayd sold his portion to someone, and that someone came new, and everybody agrees, and there's no shuf'a. So a new partner comes, and that person, when he came as a new partner, before he came into the picture, another one was selling his land, right? So that new one that didn't come yet, he has no right for the shuf'a for him, because he did not have ownership when the new one wanted to sell the land. His ownership is not established yet. So he cannot be, after he purchases, he says, I have the right to that piece of land that the other partner sold. No, you were not part of us when that happened. So that's why taqaddum milki shafi'. So his milk has to come before the new shuf'a or the new deal that is going to be established with one of the partners. Is it clear? So this has to be more than one partner owning the place. And then he says, وَكَوْنُ شِقْصٍ مُشَاعًا مِنْ أَرْضٍ تَجِبُ قِسْمَتُهَا. Another condition here, وَكَوْنُ شِقْصٍ. A shiqs is also the piece of land, a piece of land. This is here even in the footnote, هو القطعة من الأرض والطائفة من الشيء والشقيص الشريك. So the piece of land that gets sold, it has to be shiqs, a piece of the land, مشاعًا. This is the word of مشاعًا, that is owned by everybody, not owned by that specific individual. Their partnership is based on percentage, but it's not based on specific places of the land. Okay, وكونه شخص مشاعا من أرض, from a land تجب قسمتها, that has to be distributed or divided. تجب قسمتها. So if it's not مشاع, then there's no shuf'a here. You understand? So if what does it mean that it's not musha'? If it's no zoning, no splitting, no one knows he owns what in the land. So if إذا رسمت الحدود فلا شفعة, as the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, if the limits are drawn, then there's no shuf'a. It doesn't have to be drawn even by the authorities. If, again, four people purchase a big piece of land, he says, and they're standing like that, okay, I'll take the north part, and you take the south, and you take this and this, and they put a stone here and a stone there. That means they already divided it. So there's no shuf'a. If anybody sold his piece, no one is to blame him. And no one has the right. The right is one thing. For people to be nice to each other, that's something else. Right? So, but people have a wrong perception of this, especially back home. They have this, where they consider al-jar has the right for the shufa. They consider the neighbor has a right to his neighbor's land if he wants to sell it. You see, and they would say the word shufa, and they would get so upset, and they consider this is haram. So you have a land and you have a fence on it and everything is there. And your neighbor is right next to you, and you cannot sell your land unless you take permission from your neighbor. It's like the urf, the norm. Otherwise, he become very upset. You have to say, I'm going to sell the land. Do you have any desire to purchase it? And it's a good thing to be done, right? If you're going to sell it. But if you're going to give it as a gift, then yeah, give it as a gift to whoever you want. And also with shufa, it doesn't apply here if you give it as a gift. But you're going to sell it, you're going to sell it to someone, and he's going to be the neighbor of that person. So yeah, he wants to make sure that he wants you as his neighbor. So he doesn't know who you're going to sell the land to. And this is a serious issue also, because if you bring him, you sell, and if you have a land, if you have a house, and you want to sell it, you have to make sure who you're selling your land for, too. Right? Because you bring a bad neighbor, then you kind of have some form to the best of one's ability. So that's why it's a good thing to be done. But the neighbor should not take advantage of this by giving less, for example. So you can put the land for sale, right? And a serious buyer comes and he's going to pay that much money for it. Then you can give a choice to the neighbor without deception, without fooling anyone. If he would like to purchase it, mashallah, this is a good thing too. But is it right? That means if they go to the judge, is that a valid dispute? No, because the land has already been drawn and everything. He has no rights of shuf'a. Right? It's out of goodness. This is something else. So it has to be musha'an, has to be on the masha', as they call it. That means no one is specifically have a specific ownership of it. And then he says, وَيَدْخُلُ غِرَاسٌ وَبِنَاءٌ تَبَعًا لَا ثَمَرَةٌ وَزَرْعٌ. وَيَدْخُلُ غِرَاس. What al-ghiras means? We took al-ghiras before. Al-ghars, anything is planted, right? So trees. So if the land has trees, and it's al-masha', right? So nobody knows exactly what portion of the land he owns. So one is selling a portion of his land. So any ghiras, any trees there, bina, building, is included with the new sale or without the new sale. It depends, of course. And that's why if there's bina, if there's one piece of land or something else, then they have to figure out who, that goes into the ownership of which person. But if it's al-masha' again, that will be included, when it comes to be sold. Tab'an, that means it follows the same ruling. لا ثمرة وزرع. Not thamara, not produce, and not zar', not the plants that can be cultivated. The trees is there, and you only take the fruits, right, or the produce. But also, you remember we talked about the different types of plants. If it's something that you remove everything from the land and you start over again, so this is where the zara. That means the ownership of this is for the previous or the original owner. Especially with the shajar, with the produce, if it's budu salah, when it's ready and it's ripe and it's ready to be harvested. So it's not to be sold as part of the deal. This has to be sold separately, or this has to be to the owner, the original owner, which we talked about that in al-musaqa, al-muzara. So, and he says, وَأَخْذُ جَمِيعِ مَبِيعٍ. Also one of the conditions here, وَأَخْذُ جَمِيعِ مَبِيعٍ. So what is the meaning of أخذ? Is to take. جميع, all, مبيع, all what is being sold. What does that mean? This is for the partner. So the case here is Zayd and Amr. Zayd sell the land to Ahmed, or the portion of his land to Ahmed. Amr come and says, his portion was 50%. He sold it. Amr says, no, I have the right for the Shufaa. I'll take it, but I'll take 30%. And then 20% later. Oh, too bad, sorry. He has no right for Shufaa because Zayd, he wants to sell the entire portion of his. If he was selling 30, then he has the right of 30. But that's what وَأَخْذُ جَمِيعِ مَبِيع. And the word mabi' is mentioned, not jami' his milk, because he might not be selling all of his milk, because Zayd might be selling only 10% of his portion. So what is the right of the Shuf'a here for Amr is the 10%, if he's selling 10%. So he cannot take less. He cannot say, well, I'll take only 5%. Clear? So this is a condition, وَأَخْذُ جَمِيعِ مَبِيع. Then there's a conditional statement afterwards. فَإِنْ أَرَادَ أَخْذَ الْبَعْضِ. If he wants, now count how many situations here he's going to mention. So he has to take all of what's being sold. If he wants to take أخذ البعض, what's أخذ البعض? To take some who takes of the sum. البعض, alif lam here, that means تعريف here. البعض is some. If he wants to take some of it. أو, or, second case, عجز عن بعض الثمن بعد إنظاره ثلاثة. عجز, he has the inability to give some of the ثمن, some of the price, after إنظاره, after giving him a chance or to wait for 3 days. So who they're talking about here? They're talking about Ahmed or Zayd or Amr? Who's Ahmed or Zayd or Amr? No, Amr. Zayd and Amr are the owners. And Ahmed is going to be, Zayd sold the land to Ahmed. Although his portion, he sold his portion to Ahmed. Right? Amr comes in, the partner, says, no, I want this land for me. Sure. And with the other conditions applied. So now he's supposed to come up with the money. So when Zayd sold it, he sold it for 1,000. But then Amr, he came up with 700. And he's not able to come up with the 300. We'll give him 3 days. Either he brings the 300, or then you don't want to harm Zayd. Then Zayd will go on with his original transaction to Ahmed. So it's kind of the same thing of the same mas'al. He's not able to. He's going to give a portion of it. So whether he wants to take a piece of it only, or he's not able to pay the entire money, and we'll give him a chance for 3 days. أو, another case also here, أو قال لمشتر, or he said to the mushtari. Huh? Oh, I'm missing something. أو قال لمشتر بعني أو صالحني. أو قال لمشتري بعني أو صالحني, which means, or he says to the one that is going to purchase, sell me this, or make sulh, that I will give you this and you give me that, and things like this. Right? And this is, of course, that doesn't work also. So he has to come up with the money of the purchaser comes up with, otherwise it doesn't work. أو أخبره عدل فكذبه ونحوه. Another case, and the cases can be many different things, but again, the ulama, they mentioned some of the things that would make sure that things are clear. The fourth one here, adl. Adl means trustworthy, someone that is not a liar, not known to be a liar, and he's righteous. أخبره, he informed him. So Zayd and Amr are the partners. Zayd sold his portion to Ahmed. Amr wants to have the Shuf'a to be established for him to take that for himself. Adl, a trustworthy person, came to him and he told him, listen, your partner Zayd sold his land, sold his portion. فَكَذَّبَهُ. He said, no, you're a liar. There's no way Zayd would do this to me. He has to come and tell me first. And that person is known to be not a liar. فَكَذَّبَهُ. So that means he has no shuf'a. As if he knew that, because the first condition is, or the conditions that we mentioned, if he know and he delayed it, then there's no shuf'a for him. So someone, whether he knows it by himself or someone informed him. If someone that is known to be trustworthy and he said, no, there's no way this is going to happen, and he did not act immediately, then there's no shuf'a for him. That's why he says, فَكَذَّبَهُ وَنَحْوُ, and the like of this. Because there's, what if someone comes and he's not trustworthy? Then is not to, he has the right. He says, well, it's just, I thought this guy always says things that he doesn't know what he's saying. How would I know? So it doesn't have to be exactly that same surah. So all of these cases, سقطت. سقطت, that means, what سقط means? Fell, which means here it's void, it's not valid. سقطت, and what's the ta refers to? Well, this is feminine or masculine or what? Feminine. سقطت. What سقطت? الشفعة. Because الشفعة is feminine. مؤنث. Right, so this is سقطت الشفعة in these cases. All these cases goes around the same thing. And you want to make sure that you respect the partner, but at the same time not to harm the one that wants to sell. So the one that wants to sell to someone else, you don't want to lose that mushtari or this purchaser. In the case of the partner is making some form of a delaying the matter, things like this, the mushtari would say, I don't want to deal with this. So that's why if he wants to take a portion, or he would try to make another deal with him, or he would not act immediately, and he would tell them, give me some, for a few days to think about it, or someone told him and says, no way it's going to happen. All of these things then breaks his right to have the shuf'a or the piece of land, because it has to be fawran, has to be immediately. Clear? The next one, he says, فَإِنْ عَفَى بَعْضُهُمْ فَإِنْ عَفَى بَعْضُهُمْ أَخَذَ بَاقِيهِمُ الْكُلِّ أَوْ تَرَكَهُ. Literally says, فَإِنْ عَفَى, if some of them they forgive or let go, أَخَذَ بَاقِيهِمْ, the rest of them they will take الْكُلِّ, everything, أَوْ تَرَكَهُ, or he leave them. So if you have a land, for example, and you have few people there, partners, in the land, one of them sold his right to it or his portion. So then this portion that he sold, أخذ بقيهم الكل, the rest will take it, right? So each one will take it according to whatever they decide to be the portion divided among them. So and if some of them they say that we're not going to take it, but the rest will take it, that's fine. That also to be established, there's no harm in this whatsoever. So that means some of those who deserve for the shuf'a to be given to them, but they passed it on, or they said, no, I'm not interested. So the rest, they can have the right of it. Is it clear? So the piece of land, if it's owned by four, one is selling his portion, and one he says, I have no interest in it. Then still the other two, they have the right. They have the right to take it over completely, with the previous conditions. So it doesn't have to be that all of the partners has to be part of purchasing that portion that one of them wants to sell. Okay? And then he says, وَإِن مَاتَ شَفِيعٌ وَإِن مَاتَ شَفِيعٌ قَبْلَ طَلَبٍ بَطَلَتْ. الشفيع مات. Who's the shafi'? The one that wants the pre-emption. The one that is mustahiq للشفاعة. The shafi' here is the one that deserves it, which is the partner. If he dies, so Said sold the portion of his land, and once he sold it, his partner died before he asked, whether it's right away or whatever. So before he asked for it, he died before asking to have the shafa'a for him, shufa'a for him. Batalat, the inheritors, they have no rights because he did not ask for it. So, right? Clear? So this is بطلت. وإن كان الثمن مؤجلا. If the ثمن, so that means also with the issue of the inheritors, they have different rulings than the original owner, right? But once he dies and then his portion is divided to the inheritors, then they are the new owners. But anything that the previous one had, like for example this, it is not for them because he died before he asked. But after it's distributed, then they have full ownership of his portion. If one of the partners wants to sell, then they have the right of the Shufaa. You get it? So this is in the case of the Shafi' died after it's already been, the portion of his partner has been sold. And he died afterwards. And he did not ask for the Shuf'a. Clear? وإن مات شفيع قبل طلب, before, not قبل بيع, قبل طلب, before he asked. So it's already been sold. But he did not ask. بطلت. So الشفيع is who? The one that deserves the Shuf'a. So because the other one sold this portion. So that Shafi' died after the other partner sold the land, but that Shafi' did not ask for the Shuf'a, did not ask for this land. And he died before asking. And now the inheritance comes in place and says, we want the Shuf'a. No. Because he was alive when the land was sold and he didn't ask for it. And some of the situations where the judge has to assess the situation if he was, the last moment of his life or something like that. Of course, his portion, the inheritors will keep them. No. Right. They cannot ask for the shuf'a for the part of his neighbor, of his partner. Right? So this is وإن مات شفيع قبل طلب بطلت what? الشفعة. And what الشفعة is not his portion. Talking about the portion of his partner that he's selling, where he has the right to it. وإن كان الثمن مؤجلا, تمر مسألة إن شاء الله. وإن كان الثمن مؤجلا. If الثمن, what's الثمن? The price. No, الثمر is the produce. الثمن is the price. So if the price of the land is مؤجلا, مؤجل, deferred. If the price is deferred, ثمن of what? What we're talking about here? Huh? We're talking about الثمن, not the قيمة. الثمن is the price. Once the word ثمن comes in place, if it's in like this, that means we're talking about something being sold. Because the qima can be much higher or much less. The qima is the value of the land. But the price, that they agreed to sell with, so what does that mean? When you read something, وَإِنْ كَانَ الثَّمَنُ مُؤَجَّلًا, ثمن of what? We're talking about shuf'a, right? We're talking about the shuf'a, and it's in the fiqh, it's very important to zoom in on the subject. Like when we talk about inheritance, right, you would find the wordings of things, even when people when they ask a question about inheritance, they need to ask it right. Don't say the wife died and she left, there was a husband and a son and a mother. What wife and what husband? You say a woman died, and whoever is left behind mention the relationship only, because we're dealing with that woman. Right, so a husband and a son and a daughter and a mother, right? So it's related to the deceased. So here we're talking about a shuf'a. A shuf'a means what? The right of the partner that is not doing anything. He's just a partner. So his partners, the other partner, he sold his portion. So now the shuf'a is the right of the other one. So a thaman is the price of what? Is the price that has been given or been agreed upon from the other partner. So if that thaman is mu'ajjal, so in the case of Zayd and Amr, Zayd sold his portion to Ahmad for 1,000 over 5 years. This is mu'ajjal. أخذ مليء به. أخذ مليء به. أخذ مليء المليء. I think we took that also before. المليء from al-mil, someone is full. Al-mali is a word that is used for someone that is rich, has money. Right? So if he's mali, who's the one that is mali? This is how the matn, you kind of have to figure out who's they're talking about. So the mali here refers to who's the mali? The mali is the shafi', right? So وإن كان الثمن مؤجلا, the price that was given from the stranger that comes to buy, they agreed that it's going to be over a period of time. Then now the shafi' that he has the right for the shuf'a, he comes in place. He says, no, I want the land for myself. And as mentioned before, he will take the same deal. He will take over from the same deal. So he has the right to take it for 1,000 over 5 years. Correct? But do we just give it to him like that? No. He can get the same deal if he's mali. If he has financial abilities, so they would run his credit in a halal way. So he says, okay, I'll take the deal. The partner will take the deal. Since it's not cash immediately, if it's you take the deal, what was the ruling of the cash immediately? We'll give him 3 days, right, to come up with the price. You give it all full, and that's the end of it for the shafi', for the partner to give. Correct? But if the deal was that it's over 5 years, he has the right to take it with the same deal over 5 years. But we have to make sure that this will be guaranteed that he would pay it. So he has to be mali. He has assets, he has this and that. This is أخذ مليء به. Is it clear? Or it needs to be drawn? But again, this is correct. So, but then when you look at the sentence, that's why for those who are with us also online, if you're looking at the sentence, that's what I'm saying is like if you, وإن كان الثمن مؤجلا, you might think, what is thaman based on what is that referring to? We're talking about Ash-Shufaa. So a thaman here in the context of Ash-Shufaa, the shafi' does not give any price because he's just a partner and he has the right to take over because the other one, he's the one that sold it with a price. So if the price that has been given to sell his partner's portion is deferred, then a shafi', the one that has the right to take this and to break this contract, he has to be financially stable. أخذ مليء به. به, that means over the same deal. He would take the same deal. وغيره, if he's not mali, if he doesn't have stability financially, بكفيل ملي, he still have a chance. If he brings a kafil, and remember the kafala? Kafil, the guarantor, mali. So the kafil, someone that's a co-signer basically. So if he comes with someone that is mali, someone that is financially stable, and he says he will guarantee if I didn't pay it over the 5 years, he will pay it on my behalf. Then okay. This is if the case was mu'ajjal, if the thaman kana mu'ajjalan, if the thaman, the price was deferred. So can the question, can the shafi'a make it as a condition? Because I have the right to take the contract that you guys made, but I'll take it with a deferred payment. When it was not, when it wasn't deferred payment, he has no right. Right? So the new buyer, he comes and he's going to pay all the money cash. So this exact same deal, the shafi'a can take it, can take over, but not any other thing that is of a less benefit to the original buyer. No, al-mali is the one that is, the definition of it is someone that is not known to be poor, someone that has the money. Usually it's someone that has the money. So has all the money. Not that he has money coming up later. No, this is what the mali. So because, for someone, whether it's the money cash or a building or something that in case that he's not able to pay, he would, sell something or something of that nature. Not that he's trustworthy, mali, that means he has the money. The last مسألة here, ولو أقر بائع بالبيع وأنكر مشتر ثبتت. So now this is a case of dispute. ولو أقر بائع. Let's see what أقر means. Acknowledge. الإقرار is when someone write something upon himself. أقر أنا, I acknowledge that I have this money to give it to so and so. So أقر, that means he confessed, he acknowledged. بائع. البائع is the doer here. So the بائع is the seller. We're talking about Shufa, right? So who's selling? One of them, one of the partners. So ولو أقر بائع, if the بائع acknowledge بالبيع, that he sold the piece of land. So in Zayd and Amr, they own the land. Zayd selling the land to Ahmed, right? So Zayd is saying, I sold the land to Ahmed, right? وأنكر مشتر. Ahmed is the mushtari. He denies. He says, you send nothing to me. Clear? So this is the mas'ala. So al-ba'i' is one of the owners, and mushtari is the new guy that comes to purchase. Now we're talking about Amr, which is the shafi'. What is the deal with Amr here? ثبتت, opposite of سقطت. He has the right of the shafa'a, which is a very obvious one. So the ba'i', if the mushtari, he denies that there was a deal, right? So that means what? Then the tricky part here is that the other partner, he says, I sold it, right? So now Amr comes in, oh, give it to me then. So الشفعة ثبتت to Amr. The mushtari, he runs away or he denies it, but then, so in that case, Zayd would have to sell the land to Amr. Not intentions. He said, I sold it. This is the dispute. He said, I sold it to Ahmed. I'm not an owner to it anymore. ولو أقر بائع بالبيع. He's not in negotiation. If he's in negotiation and he says, and the mushtari says, I deny it, well, he still have the ownership. No, he says, I sold it already. So if he sold it already, the shuf'a is established for his partner. Right? Shuf'a is established. Shuf'a, well, that's what the shuf'a is. Zayd, he sold the land already, sold his portion already. What is the meaning of the shuf'a is established? That Amr, he has the right to break that contract. So Zayd sold it to Ahmed, and Ahmed now he has the ownership of the land. And with all of the conditions before, Amr comes in place, of course, to the authority they take the land from Ahmed. He says, I purchased it. Here's the papers, everything is fine. No, we have a shuf'a right for Amr. So this is what the shuf'a is. But here in this case, the mushtari denies that he even purchased anything. Right? So the shuf'a is established for Amr. That means he would then give the money to Zayd and he takes the land. Then there's some other issues to it, and the mutawalat, I mentioned these cases. What if Ahmed, which is the new guy, he, there's money here. So, for example, the Zayd, he said, I sold it. That means that he received money, right? And then the shuf'a, we will have it established for Amr. So Amr will give Zayd the same amount of money. So he sold it to two, right? To the authorities, who is the owner of the land? Al-Shafi', Amr. The other guy is gone. If we have a contract, then we will cancel this and you give him back the money. But the mushtari is denying. So then they have to deal with each other if he sold it to someone else or whatever that comes from. But it's a situation where the mushtari he is the one that might be in loss, but he's denying, so it's fine. Right, Al-Shafa'a is by default. It doesn't have to be written in a contract, as long as there's no boundaries and nothing is being specific. No, ثبتت. This is it refers to the shuf'a. If you continue, ثبتت الشفعة. But if you say ثبتت, you don't say ثبتتي. But you would see the kasra because it's two sukun. The ta is already feminine. The ثبتت, it's ta here because it's feminine. If it's masculine, say ثبت. Right? So there's no need for kasra. Right. We'll take the attendance code and then the hadith, inshallah. The attendance code is Al-Shafi', Al-Shafi', or in Arabic, or Al-Shuf'a, the Shuf'a itself. Al-Shafi' is who? See, Al-Shafi' in the Aqidah will be who? the intercessor, right? الشفيع in the fiqh, people say, oh, شفيع, mashallah. No, no, in the context of fiqh, is someone else. The one that has the right to break the contract of his partner when he sold it to someone else with the conditions that is mentioned in the Shafaa. So this is the attendance code. There's a question, but let's take the hadith first, inshallah. And I need the number. 98. Hadith number 98, inshallah. Hadith number 98. Did anybody counted how many hadith we took so far? It's easy because each book we reached a certain number. Type 98. Hadith 98 in Bulugh al-Maram. You ready, inshallah? This is easy, inshallah. عن عبادة بن الصامت رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بأم القرآن متفق عليه. So the hadith here لا صلاة, no salah for the one لمن, for the one لم, did not يقرأ, read, recite بأم القرآن, by the mother of the Quran. Al-Quran is Fatihatul Kitab. And the of things is the core of things, not the mother. What is mother? Forgive Allah, forgive me. It's not mother. I'm sorry. I apologize. Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. It's the word is mother. But shay, فَأُمُّ هَوِيَةٌ, like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the disbeliever, هَوِيَةٌ doesn't mean that his mother is falling in the hellfire. That means رأسه, the core of him. His head is going first. So the core of things. So this is the most virtuous surah in the Quran, and that's why there's another narration of the same hadith, لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. So it's described clearly, which is the Fatiha. No salah for the one that does not recite Fatihatul Kitab. And the hadith is clearly states here, if someone prays the salah and he does not recite Fatihatul Kitab, his salah is not valid. There's no validity for his salah, but this with details. Because when they said the hadith is mansukh, it's not mansukh. It's not abrogated, as the other ulama, they say. Why? Because it's valid for the munfarid, for the person praying alone, and for the imam. So if the imam of the salah, Salatul Isha, Allahu Akbar, and he not silent, after he says Allahu Akbar, he says, Qulu Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad, Allahu Akbar. His salah is not valid, and the salah of the people behind him is not valid, because Fatihatul Kitab. But if he recites Surah Al-Fatiha, the first rak'ah of Surah Al-Isha, and he says Allahu Akbar and make ruku', the salah is valid. He shouldn't do that, yes, and everything, but as far as the validity of the salah, because Qira'at Al-Fatiha is pillar, is a rukn in arkan al-salah. So that's why no salah for the one that does not recite Surah Al-Fatiha. What is left here is the ma'moom. The ma'moom, because al-masbuq, if someone comes late and the imam makes salam and he's making up whatever is left of the salah, he's munfarid. He takes all the rulings of the person praying alone. So he has to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and so on. The khilaf or the differences of opinions is with regards to the ma'moom. So does the Fatihatul Kitab also obligatory upon the ma'moom, and the ma'moom, the follower of the imam, if he does not recite Surah Al-Fatiha, his salah is not valid? This is where the issue here comes in place. And inshallah ta'ala, the correct opinion, because of the other hadith, and there is possibility of jam', we're bringing all these hadith together, that أئمتكم يصلون لكم, your أئمة, they pray for you, فإن أصابوا فلكم ولهم, if they make the salah correct, it's for you and for them, وإن أخطأوا فلكم وعليهم, and if they make a mistake, it's for you and against them. So the salat al-imam, salah al-ma'mum. So that's why if the Imam recites Al-Fatiha, then the Ma'mum doesn't have to recite Al-Fatiha. So this is one opinion and it has its validity from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, like the opinion of Imam Hanifa rahimahullah in his madhab. If you Salatul Dhuhr and Asr even, you pray behind the Imam and you're like this, your Salah is valid. Because the Imam is reciting Quran. Right? But the most correct opinion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and the majority of the ulama are upon, where actually if it's a silent Salah, the Prophet ﷺ, they know that he's reciting and they would see his beard moving. So the silent Salah, the Ma'mum, if he's behind the Imam, he has to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Because إنما جعل الإمام ليؤتم به, you follow the Imam. So this is of a weaker differences of opinion. It's not a very strong difference of opinion. That means you have to, as a Ma'mum, recite Surah Al-Fatiha in Salatul Dhuhr, Salatul Asr. The stronger differences of opinion in the Maghrib and Isha and Fajr. The first two rak'ah. So it's in the Jahri rak'ah versus the silent rak'ah. The last two rak'ah, the difference of opinion is not as strong. You have to, if you're standing behind the Imam. But they can say, well, if you come for ruku' and the Imam was in ruku', the ruku' counts as a rak'ah and he didn't recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Yes. And the other ones would say, but you came in ruku'. The Fatiha is a pillar for the Ma'mum if he's standing behind the Imam. If he's standing behind the Imam and it's a silent rak'ah, it's a pillar for him. But if he comes for ruku', then it's not a pillar for him because he came in ruku'. But anyway, but for the first two rak'ah in Maghrib and Isha and the two rak'ah of Fajr, the difference of opinion are much stronger. So some said the Ma'mum has to recite it, and some said no, he doesn't have to recite it. And what's in between, which is as Sheikh al-Islam himself, he says this is أعدل الأقوال, the most just of all of the opinions, the opinion of Imam Malik rahimahullah. When he said if there's a chance to recite it, recite it. If there's no chance, listen to the Quran. But for the Quran to be recited, the obligation here is to listen. The Quran فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. If the Quran is recited, your job is to listen. And if the Quran is not recited, then your job is to recite. So if the Imam gives time and he doesn't have to, there's no such a thing in the Sunnah that the Imam should wait or whatever. So if there's time, then a person can recite. If there's none, then he should not recite. If he start reciting and then the Imam start reciting, finish Surah Al-Fatiha. But don't be taking your time in doing so. But it's a very differences of opinion, but the hadith applies for the munfarid and for the Imam. لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بأم القرآن. It shows also the virtues of Salat of Surah Al-Fatiha. طيب وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.